In an age where social connections have become more complex and fraught with anxiety, we bring you a timeless conversation between Marcus Aurelius and Seneca. Listen as they unravel the mysteries of social anxiety and share their wisdom on how to navigate it.
Seneca, my friend, do you ever wonder how the concept of anxiety, particularly the kind that grips one's mind in social situations, would have fared in our time?
Indeed, Marcus. While the world may have changed, the human soul remains the same. We, too, faced our anxieties, whether it was the pressure of public life or the constant judgment of others. But in today's world, it seems that social anxiety has taken on a new form, fueled by the complexities of modern living.
True, Seneca. Social anxiety now, as I understand it, often stems from the fear of being judged or misunderstood in the vast tapestry of life. People seem to be more connected than ever, yet many feel more isolated. The constant need for validation, the fear of missing out, and the pressure to present a certain image, these are burdens we did not carry in the same way.
And yet, Marcus, the principles of Stoicism offer a path forward, even in this new world. Social anxiety, at its core, is a disruption of our inner peace. It's the mind's way of clinging to what others think, rather than focusing on our own virtue and wisdom.
Yes, and I often remind myself of what we have control over. We cannot control the opinions of others, only our response to them. Social anxiety can be managed by understanding that the thoughts of others are beyond our influence. What truly matters is how we align ourselves with nature and reason.
Marcus, I'm curious, how would you advise someone in today's world who is overwhelmed by social anxiety? Imagine a young man, pressured by the expectations of his peers, constantly comparing himself to others in this digital age, where life is scrutinized through the lens of social media.
I would tell him to declutter his mind, much like we declutter our homes. The digital world is a place of noise, filled with distractions that can overwhelm even the strongest mind. In such a space, practicing digital minimalism can be a powerful tool. By reducing the time spent on these platforms and focusing instead on self-improvement, on lifelong learning, and on meaningful interactions, one can begin to reclaim their peace.
The idea of decluttering the mind is indeed a powerful one. But it's also about cultivating mindfulness, isn't it? Being present in the moment and not letting the mind wander into unnecessary anxieties. I often speak of the importance of being mindful of our thoughts, challenging them, and questioning whether they serve us. This is, in essence, the precursor to what modern thinkers might call cognitive behavioral therapy.
Exactly. It's about understanding that the mind is a powerful tool. It can be our greatest ally or our worst enemy. By practicing mindfulness, we become aware of our thoughts and can choose which ones to entertain and which to discard. This, in itself, is an exercise in essentialism, focusing only on what truly matters.
It's a form of slow living, isn't it? By slowing down, by focusing on what is truly essential, we begin to shed the layers of unnecessary worry and anxiety. Social anxiety often stems from the pressure to keep up with others, to meet societal expectations that may not even align with our values.
And how often do we see people today caught in the whirlwind of this social comparison? Platforms like Instagram and Facebook, where everyone presents an idealized version of their lives, can intensify feelings of inadequacy. People spend hours scrolling, seeing only the highlights of others' lives, and then wonder why they feel so discontent with their own.
Indeed, Marcus. It's as if they are trapped in a never-ending cycle of wanting more, being more. But we, as Stoics, know that this desire for more is a path to misery. The pursuit of more status, more likes, more approval, only leads to anxiety. Instead, we should focus on what is within our control, on living in accordance with our values, and on seeking contentment in simplicity.
I often think about how we can apply the idea of essentialism in this context. Essentialism is about identifying what is truly important in our lives and letting go of the rest. If we can do this, if we can focus on what truly matters, then the noise of social comparison fades away, and with it, much of our anxiety.
Yes, and this is where the concept of monk mode comes in, a modern term, but one that resonates with the Stoic way of life. It's about retreating from the distractions of the world, not in a physical sense, but mentally. By limiting our exposure to these distractions, we create space for reflection, for growth, and for cultivating a mindset that is resilient to the pressures of society.
Monk mode is a powerful tool for those struggling with social anxiety. It allows one to step back, to evaluate what is truly important, and to focus on personal development rather than the fleeting opinions of others. This is something I've always valued, the ability to retreat into oneself, to find peace within, even amidst the chaos of life.
And in this retreat, we find clarity. We see that much of our anxiety is self-created, a product of our own thoughts and beliefs. By changing our perspective, by focusing on what we can control, and by practicing the Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we can begin to overcome the grip of social anxiety.
Yes, it's about cultivating a growth mindset, seeing challenges as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles. When we view social interactions through this lens, we begin to see them not as threats, but as opportunities to practice our virtues, to improve ourselves, and to live in accordance with our true nature.
And this growth mindset is essential for overcoming social anxiety. It reminds us that we are not defined by the opinions of others, but by our own actions and choices. We can choose to see social anxiety as a challenge, as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to become stronger. Marcus, I find it fascinating how these ancient principles can be so relevant in today's world. The Stoic mastery of life, as we've discussed, offers a powerful antidote to the challenges of modern living. But what would you say to those who feel overwhelmed by the pace of life today, who feel that they cannot keep up with the demands placed upon them?
I would remind them of the importance of slow living. In our time, life was simpler, but the pressures were no less real. We had to navigate the demands of public life, the expectations of others, and the challenges of leadership. But we found peace in slowing down, in focusing on what truly mattered, and in living in harmony with nature.
And this idea of slow living is more important now than ever. In a world that constantly pushes us to do more, to be more, the idea of slowing down can be revolutionary. It's about taking the time to reflect, to appreciate the present moment, and to focus on what is truly important.
Slow living is a form of mindfulness. It's about being present, about savoring the moment, and about finding joy in the simple things. When we live slowly, we create space for reflection, for growth, and for cultivating a mindset that is resilient to the pressures of society.
And in this space, we can begin to overcome social anxiety. By slowing down, by focusing on what truly matters, we can begin to see our anxieties for what they are, temporary and fleeting, not something to be feared, but something to be understood and managed.
Yes, and it's also about decluttering the mind, much like we declutter our homes. The mind is a powerful tool, but it can become overwhelmed by too much information, too many distractions. By practicing digital minimalism, by reducing the noise in our lives, we create space for clarity, for focus, and for peace.
Digital minimalism is a modern concept, but it aligns perfectly with Stoic principles. It's about focusing on what truly matters, on what is within our control, and on letting go of the rest. By doing this, we can begin to overcome the grip of social anxiety, and to live a life that is true to our values.
And in this life, we find freedom. Freedom from the opinions of others, freedom from the pressures of society, and freedom from the anxieties that can so easily overwhelm us. This is the essence of Stoicism, the ability to live in accordance with our true nature, to focus on what is within our control, and to let go of the rest.
Marcus, you once said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This is particularly true for those struggling with social anxiety. Often, the fears they harbor are not based on reality but on imagined scenarios. What if they don't like me? What if I say something foolish?
Indeed, Seneca, the mind can be a breeding ground for such fears. But by adopting a growth mindset, one can begin to see these anxieties as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles. By facing these fears head-on, we can build resilience and, over time, diminish the power these imagined scenarios hold over us.
And this is where the practice of cognitive behavioral therapy comes in, a modern technique, but one that aligns closely with Stoic philosophy. It's about challenging our thoughts, questioning their validity, and replacing them with more rational, constructive beliefs. This is something we, as Stoics, have always done, examining our thoughts, questioning their origin, and choosing to focus on what is within our control.
Cognitive behavioral therapy is indeed a powerful tool, and it resonates with the Stoic practice of self-reflection. By examining our thoughts, by questioning their validity, and by focusing on what is within our control, we can begin to overcome the grip of social anxiety and to live a life that is true to our values.
And in this process of reflection, we begin to see the world more clearly. We see that much of our anxiety is self-created, a product of our own thoughts and beliefs. By changing our perspective, by focusing on what we can control, and by practicing the Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we can begin to overcome the grip of social anxiety.
Yes, and it's about cultivating a growth mindset, seeing challenges as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles. When we view social interactions through this lens, we begin to see them not as threats, but as opportunities to practice our virtues, to improve ourselves, and to live in accordance with our true nature.
And this growth mindset is essential for overcoming social anxiety. It reminds us that we are not defined by the opinions of others, but by our own actions and choices. We can choose to see social anxiety as a challenge, as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to become stronger.
And in this growth, we find freedom. Freedom from the opinions of others, freedom from the pressures of society, and freedom from the anxieties that can so easily overwhelm us. This is the essence of Stoicism, the ability to live in accordance with our true nature, to focus on what is within our control, and to let go of the rest. Seneca, as we draw our discussion to a close, what final advice would you offer to someone struggling with social anxiety in today's world?
I would tell them this: remember that you are not alone in your struggles. Social anxiety is a common challenge, but it does not define you. Embrace the principles of Stoicism, focus on what you can control, practice mindfulness, and adopt a growth mindset. Over time, you will find that the weight of social anxiety begins to lift, and you will be able to live more freely, more authentically.
And I would add this: life is short, too short to be spent worrying about the opinions of others. Focus on your own journey, on living a life of virtue and wisdom. In the end, it is not the judgment of others that matters, but how you have lived in accordance with your own values.